Okay, what do we have going on? The lower cowl is being put in place to be welded. You would inherently think that you can just line up this hole over here, line up the one over there, and you're good to go. Well, you're not. There is a monstrous gap over here, and it's nothing that I can actually prevent. What happens is when you mount this cowl and you mount that cowl, the upper cowl, and you clamp them to here, this will push in, making you can even see it starting to line up there, but you push it in and it'll start to close that gap. Now if you've noticed, it also moves here. They're all one piece. So what I need to do is I need to clamp here down with the upper cowl in place, clamp it down. Then once I have this position locked in up here, going straight down the panel, then I will clamp here down because then I know its home position, and then do a few tack welds going down the panel. Probably might fill some of these spot welds in the same process. And that way I know that when I clamp the new panel, it will be in this position. It will easily just clamp back onto here. So that's the plan there. Now before I do any of that, I still have more prep work to do to this panel. All the spot weld holes are made. Going across, I went by every inch, maybe half an inch. I kind of randomly placed it, but I wanted them close. By where these holes are, these alignment holes that pretty much stay here, I got these holes pretty close so that it's clamped in and it's good to go. So bound, straight down the panel. Here doesn't get spot weld holes because the upper cowl has to get the spot weld holes to weld onto here. If you tried the opposite side, you're then going to be grinding off spot welds from underneath the car by the dash. You don't want to do that, that sucks. So the method I'm using is I'm doing one piece at a time. Reason being is if you get the fully assembled one, you can't get to a critical section, which is the reason why these cars rust out in the first place. This is spot welded in. You can see the spot welds. Right there. There are a few spot welds. The gap in between these spot welds are just kind of clamped in. They're pressed together. So my finger might not be able to get in there, or my fingernail, but water for damn sure is eventually going to get through there. So, especially the water that sits. What is water? So what I'm going to do, which is why I'm doing these in steps, is I'm going to seam seal around this whole thing. And there's another thing. Might be little to you, might be big to you, I don't know. It's big to me. This cowl is this color. You might not be painting your car this color. You might be painting it red. So the thing I would recommend is paint the cowl whatever color you're going to paint the car. Because through the vent, which is over here, you can clearly see that you'll be able to see right through to whatever color that lower cowl is. So it's in your best interest to do it now while it's out and out your way, rather than trying to finagle. I don't even know how you do it, but trying to finagle painting through these vents, if you know you're keeping them. So in this side, similar process. Thing here, plug up here. Now the only other thing that I gotta show you guys is what I'm doing underneath this monstrosity. Put it down for a second. Okay, that's down. Now, what I did, what you need to do, and what everyone will tell you to do, if you don't do it, then you know it's on you, whatever happens, is this is weld through primer. This primer which is, there's a myriad of different types of primers out in the world. I can't keep track of all of them, but the 3 types that you want to be concerned with is the primer that is your substrate for painting, your epoxy primer, which is your substrate for your regular primer, and well-through primer, which is this primer. Well-through primer allows you to actually lay a bead or lay a weld onto the surface, and the paint will expand around it and it'll cool back to it. It has zinc in it, which is apparently different than other primers. Now the important thing about this primer is that after these 2 are seamed together, similar to how this cover is, this vent cap, it will allow the paint or the sandwiched pieces of metal to be protected. So if water wicks in here between some gap that I didn't fully get airtight, it will protect it. And unless you're doing a bead of welding, bead meaning you're going straight down here, which will cause a tidal wave in your metal, then you're going to need weld-through primer for these areas. Now, areas that will have weld-through primer that do, this panel, this dash, the frame rail extensions, pretty much everywhere we're saying panels are sandwiched together, you need weld-through primer. Now, what this is a chassis black paint on top of Eastwood's rust encapsulator. Looks pretty good. Before, this was rusty and dirty. I don't know if one of my other videos has what this used to look like, but this used to look like hell. I sanded, I used a wire brush, which is that thing over there. So different size wire brushes will help you get into those tricky areas. But basically, take a wire brush, scrub, try and get out the big particles, because if you try and paint on a big particle, it's still a big particle. It's going to move around, it's going to wedge itself, and it's going to look like shit eventually. Then that is a avenue for rust to get through. So put 2 good coats on with their chassis black, Eastwood's. It's a good substrate it's a good surface, not substrate. It's a good paint surface. And Eastwood's rust encapsulator, it shows black. That right there, that corner, that kick panel, that's Eastwood's rust encapsulator. And this is their chassis black. It's a little thicker, a little denser, UV protectant, rust protectant, and it's a pretty good for your chassis. That's what it's for. So that's done. The reason I did this now is because you can see that this is not very accessible when you put on the cover, when you put on the lower or upper cowl. So be wary of that. Changing out the firewall, it's pretty straightforward. You got to clamp everything down to hell, get everything as tight a fit as possible. I welded this in place with this kind of clamped in, this kind of clamp, just to kind of push this all the way back against it so I don't have any gaps, which I don't. You can see the air or the light through. Those spots is what I didn't weld yet, because I don't know if everyone understands what I'm doing. I'm going to put on the upper cowl and mock it in place. Then I'm going to put on the hood and fenders and then align everything so that the gaps between the cowl area, the fender, and the hood are all in sync and all proper. Because I'm doing an Eleanor and it's a fiberglass hood. I don't know what this thing is going to look like. The company is supposed to be very good, very reputable, and give me a very good, high quality product. So I want to get all those pieces in before I commit to doing this section. Because once this goes in, if I don't do it now, once you put the cowl in, and once you put the cowl in and it's in, and you hope that it's in the right location, regardless of what these stupid holes say, regardless of any of that. If they're not in the right location, when you put this on and you do all your body work, and then afterwards you want to really put your hood on, and then your gaps don't match up, and then you're going to have to either use filler to fill the gaps, or you're going to have to use metal and then spend another 2 weeks just to get lines right that you could have got right just by shifting this a little bit that way and reaming out this hole to get the stupid holes to match. Because this is OEM, those are aftermarket. Well, this is aftermarket, the other one I'm getting is aftermarket, so don't trust in the alignment of these holes for your panel, because I can put this one on, and these are 2 aftermarket panels, the lower cowl and the firewall, and this lip, when these things are stamped, they give you extra meat. So these are not actually lining up with these. So if you try and trust in panels that were made by different companies at different point in time, you're going to screw yourself. This is body work. This is not mechanical work. A bolt doesn't go in a hole. You have to make things work together, unfortunately. It's part of the frustration that comes with dealing with body work to this degree. Alright? So I might even mount the doors. I refurbished my my brackets. I chased the holes out, so I have good threads, and I bought new bolts for the doors. So I'm probably going to sand here, paint it, and then put the hinges on with the doors, with the fenders, with the hood. Everything goes in alignment. Then I put in the cowl. Then I weld in or tack in or permanently fix the cowls. Then once that happens, I will take off the door, but I'll more than likely leave the hinges on at here because it'll be perfect alignment at this point. So it's easier to mount or remount doors from the door side, not the frame side. Alright, till next time.